Elias had always believed that machines could feel more alive than people sometimes. The soft hum of the starship's engines, the rhythmic clanking of the maintenance bots, and the faint smell of oil and metal were more comforting to him than the crowded mess halls where humans and aliens mingled with forced politeness. Tonight the hangar was quiet, almost sacred in its emptiness. The massive doors that led to the outer decks were closed, leaving only the golden glow of overhead lights reflecting off polished metal floors. He adjusted his gloves and carried the large crate of tools toward the armor bay. Inside the crate were brushes, polish, cloths, and several vials of a special liquid that could remove scratches from even the hardest alloy. The task ahead was simple in appearance: polish and repair the armor of the galaxy's most feared general. But Elias knew it was more than that. Every scratch told a story of a battle survived, every dent spoke of courage, and every mark carried the weight of lives lost and saved. "Elias," called a soft, authoritative voice from the shadows. He froze. Even in this quiet, the sound of her voice made him feel small, as though the entire hangar had been waiting for her to speak. He looked up and saw General Kalara emerge from the doorway. Her armor gleamed under the lights, but it was not perfect. Faint scratches ran across her shoulder plates and tiny cracks appeared near the joints. The armor was designed to make her unstoppable, yet even it could not escape the scars of war. Kalara's eyes were a pale violet, almost glowing in the dim light. They studied Elias carefully. "You polish my armor again," she said, her voice calm but curious. "Why do you treat it like it is more than metal?" Elias swallowed. He did not answer immediately. The words felt heavy, almost like a test. He had heard rumors about Kalara, of course. Tales of her strength, her ruthlessness, her victories across countless worlds. But to him, she was not a weapon first. She was a being who had survived battles no one else could have. "Because it deserves care," he finally said, "and because the person wearing it deserves protection." Kalara's lips curved slightly, a faint gesture that could have been a smile. She stepped closer, her massive armored boots echoing against the metal floor. "Protection," she repeated almost to herself. "Do you really see me as anything more than a weapon?" Elias met her gaze steadily. "I see you as a being who chooses to fight, and anyone who chooses to fight deserves respect." She regarded him silently for a moment, then nodded, a subtle acknowledgement that he had passed some unspoken threshold. Kalara turned and moved toward a large platform where her armor lay separated into pieces. Each plate, each joint, and each gauntlet had its place carefully arranged. Elias approached and began unpacking his tools. Polishing her armor was an intricate task. The metal was tough, resistant to scratches, but it also required precision. A single slip could leave a mark that might compromise its strength. Elias worked slowly, deliberately, running the brush along the curved surface of her chest plate, watching for imperfections. As he worked, he could feel Kalara observing him, the weight of her gaze almost tangible. "You move carefully," she said, her voice low. "It is unusual for humans. Most are clumsy, careless. They see war as a game, or they fear it too much to approach it honestly." Elias shrugged. "I don't fear it. I respect it. And I respect those who survive it." Kalara tilted her head slightly, her helmet removed to reveal the sharp features of her face. For the first time, Elias noticed the small scars along her jawline and the faint burn mark on her temple. Each mark told a story he would never know, a testament to the battles she had endured. "You talk of respect," Kalara said, kneeling, slightly to examine the armor as he polished it. "But do you truly understand what it means to be a weapon? To be used as a tool of war without choice?" Elias paused. His brush hovered over a small scratch near the shoulder joint. He could feel the tension in the air. "I don't think anyone should be only a weapon," he said carefully. "Even weapons need care. Even weapons can have purpose beyond fighting." Kalara's violet eyes narrowed, studying him as if weighing the truth of his words. Then she leaned back, placing a hand on the edge of the platform. Perhaps there is more to you than I thought." The room fell silent for a few moments. The only sound was the faint hiss of a maintenance bot repairing a dent in a nearby armor piece. Elias continued his work, polishing each plate, meticulously, wiping away scratches and applying the special liquid to smooth the edges. As he worked, he began to notice the little details others overlooked. Tiny inscriptions etched into the metal, perhaps a signature from the craftsman who had forged it centuries ago. Small dents that had been patched over in haste after a battle. Elias realized that this armor, like the general who wore it, had a history. And he was helping preserve it. "You take care in ways I did not expect," Kalara said softly. Most would rush, polish, and leave. Few noticed the story beneath the surface. Elias smiled faintly. "Everything has a story. Even armor. Even people, I just want to honor it." For a moment, Kalara seemed to study him in silence. Then she leaned closer and whispered almost too quietly to hear, "Why do you act as if I am more than a weapon?" The question hung in the air. Elias set down his brush and met her gaze. "Because you are. Every choice you make, every battle you survive, it makes you more than a weapon. It makes you a being with purpose." Kalara's lips twitched slightly as though amused or perhaps touched by his words. She straightened, her massive form casting a long shadow across the platform. "Humans, you are strange creatures," she said. "You see meaning where others see only survival." Elias returned to polishing, this time with renewed focus. He understood now that this task was not just about metal and shine. It was about connection, about seeing the value in beings often seen only as tools of. Where hours passed, the hangar lights dimmed slightly as the ship's night cycle began. Outside the viewport, stars streaked past as the ship moved through hyperspace. The silence between Elias and Kalara was no longer uncomfortable. It was filled with mutual understanding. As he finished polishing the final gauntlet, he stepped back to admire his work. The armor gleamed as if it were alive, every scratch smoothed, every dent carefully treated. Kalara approached and ran a gloved hand over the surface. She did not speak, but the soft sound of metal sliding under her touch was praise enough. "You have done well," she said finally. "Most would see only an object, not the life it protects. You are different." Elias nodded, feeling a quiet satisfaction. "I just do what I can. Everyone deserves care, General." Kalara studied him again, her violet eyes reflecting the overhead lights. "Perhaps I will need more of your care in the future," she said softly. "Not for the armor, but for what comes after." Elias felt a flicker of hope. He did not fully understand what she meant, but he sensed that their interaction had changed something in her. Perhaps the galaxy's greatest warrior was beginning to see herself not as a weapon, but as something more. The night deepened, and the hangar grew quieter. Elias carefully packed away his tools, leaving the armor gleaming on the platform. Kalara stood nearby, silent, her presence powerful even in stillness. For the first time, Elias felt that his role in this starship was not just to maintain machines and armor, but to preserve the humanity that still lingered in the heart of a warrior. And as he left the armor room, the words Kalara whispered earlier echoed in his mind. "Why do you act as if I am more than a weapon?" Elias smiled to himself. Perhaps the answer was simple. Even a weapon could be more, and maybe, just maybe, a human could help her realize it. The alarm blared across the starship, red lights flashing in synchronization with the warning sirens. Elias jumped from his bunk, heart pounding, as the metallic hum of the ship grew louder with tension. Today was the day General Kalara would lead her squadron into battle for the first time since arriving in this sector. Elias had polished her armor only a day ago, and now he would see it tested in the chaos of war. He hurried through the corridors, past rows of maintenance bots and human technicians preparing weapons and shields. The walls vibrated as the ship maneuvered closer to the asteroid field that served as the battlefield. The human crew worked silently, each focused on their tasks, but Elias could feel the electricity in the air. The thrill of danger, the anticipation of what was to come. Kailara stood on the command deck, her massive armor gleaming under the harsh lights. The scratches and dents he had polished away reflected brilliantly, almost daring the universe to challenge her. She examined the holographic display of the battlefield. Floating asteroids, enemy ships weaving between rocks, and small settlements caught in the middle of conflict. Elias approached cautiously. "Everything is ready, General," he said. "Your armor is at peak performance." Kailara glanced at him, her violet eyes sharp and calculating. "You worry too much for a human," she said, though there was a hint of appreciation in her tone. "Today, the armor will do more than protect me. It will be a shield for others." Elias felt a mix of pride and fear. He knew her reputation. She was faster, stronger, and smarter than most beings he had ever encountered. Yet this was war, and even Kailara could be tested in ways no one could predict. The squadron assembled in the launch bays. Alien warriors in various types of armor readied their craft, engines humming with potential energy. Kailara's ship stood at the center, larger than the others, reinforced for both offense and defense. Elias watched as she climbed aboard. The image of her standing tall, confident yet graceful, etched into his mind. "Remember," she said to her squadron, her voice calm and commanding, "we fight not for victory alone, but to protect those who cannot defend themselves. Precision and coordination are our allies. Fear is our enemy." The ships launched in unison, streaking across space toward the asteroid field. Elias monitored their progress from the starship, his hands gripping the console tightly. His eyes followed Kailara's ship, gleaming and purposeful, moving with the confidence of a seasoned warrior. The first shots rang out almost immediately. Enemy vessels fired energy beams that ricocheted off the asteroid surfaces, lighting the dark void with bursts of blue and red. Kailara's ship moved with astonishing agility, dodging attacks and returning fire with precision. Elias could see every maneuver she had executed, every calculated risk she had taken, and he marveled at her skill. "Elias," Kailara's voice crackled over the comm. "Do you see?" "Yes, General," he replied, his voice trembling slightly. "You're incredible." Kailara's ship dove between two asteroids, narrowly avoiding a missile. "Do not admire me," she said sharply. "Admire strategy and preparation. Admire those who survive because of foresight." Elias noticed something unusual, a small cluster of enemy drones targeting a nearby civilian outpost. He knew the humans and aliens working there had no means of defending themselves. Without hesitation, he typed commands into the ship's targeting system, rerouting a small fleet of automated defense drones to protect the settlement. Kailara's ship responded instantly, her movements now synchronized with the automated drones. It was as if she understood his intent without words. Together, human ingenuity and alien power formed a seamless shield around the outpost, absorbing incoming attacks and neutralizing threats with minimal damage. "Impressive," Kailara admitted over the comm. "Humans are clever, more clever than many aliens give them credit for." The battle intensified. Larger enemy ships joined, aiming to overwhelm Kailara's squadron with sheer force. The alien warriors moved with precision, executing complex maneuvers across the asteroid field. But the human crew's support was critical. Elias monitored every attack, adjusting shields, diverting energy, and sending real-time updates to Kailara. Each time her armor deflected a beam or absorbed a blast, he felt the hours spent polishing it had made a difference. During a particularly tense moment, Kailara's ship was caught in a crossfire between two enemy frigates. One massive energy beam struck her hull and Elias's heart leapt. He had ensured the armor plating on her ship's critical systems was flawless and, miraculously, it absorbed the damage without critical failure. Kailara's voice cut through his fear, calm and commanding. "Elias, now." He executed a complex sequence of commands, redirecting energy and deploying countermeasures. The beam dissipated harmlessly into space, and Kailara's ship surged forward, attacking with renewed strength. The enemy frigates were forced to retreat, their formation broken. Elias exhaled, feeling a strange pride. Not for the destruction caused, but for the lives preserved. The rest of the battle was a test of endurance and coordination. Kalara's squadron pushed forward, taking advantage of human-guided strategies, and the combination of alien combat instincts with human ingenuity created an unstoppable force. Every time Elias saw Kalara move with the confidence and power of a seasoned warrior, he remembered the scratches he had polished away and the careful attention he had given to every detail of her armor. By the end of the engagement, the battlefield was silent, save for the distant hum of damaged ships and drifting asteroids. Kalara's squadron had suffered minimal losses, and the civilian outpost remained intact. She returned to the command deck, her armor slightly scuffed but unbroken. Elias approached cautiously, unsure of how to measure her reaction. Kalara removed her helmet, revealing the faint sheen of sweat on her forehead and the sharp determination in her eyes. She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "You were correct," she said quietly. "The care you gave, it mattered." Elias felt a warmth spread through his chest. "I only did what I could," he said humbly. Kalara stepped closer, her violet eyes meeting his. "No," she said softly. "You did more than you realize. You reminded me. That strength alone is not enough. Strategy, thoughtfulness, humanity. These are weapons too." For the first time, Kalara seemed less like the unstoppable force the galaxy feared, and more like a being capable of learning and growing. Elias understood then why she had asked him the night before, "Why do you act as if I am more than a weapon?" The answer was clear. Even the most powerful warriors could be more than their armor, more than their battles, if someone believed in their potential. The human technicians in the control room began to cheer quietly as Kalara's squadron returned safely. Elias remained at the console for a while longer, double-checking systems and ensuring the ship was ready for the next engagement. He knew the war was far from over, but today had shown that cooperation between humans and aliens could create results that neither could achieve alone. Kalara finally approached him, placing a gloved hand on his shoulder. "You were there in the fight," she said. "Not on the battlefield, but guiding it. That is something few can do. You have shown me the value of human thought." Elias nodded, unable to hide his pride. "And you have shown me the value of courage," he said simply. They stood together in the aftermath of the battle, the hangar lights of the returning ships casting long shadows across the floor. Outside the viewports, the asteroid field lay quiet, as if the universe itself paused to watch the unusual partnership between a human and a galactic warrior. Kalara finally broke the silence. "Perhaps," she said softly, "I am more than a weapon. Perhaps there is a path beyond the battlefield." Elias smiled faintly. "I've always believed that," he replied. For the first time, Kalara allowed herself to feel something beyond the thrill of combat, the trust, respect, and even a hint of hope, and Elias realized that his role was not just polishing armor, but helping a warrior see herself as more than what the universe demanded. The first battle was over, but the journey was just beginning. Elias knew there would be more conflicts, more tests, and more chances to prove that humanity's ingenuity could rival the galaxy's deadliest forces. And for the first time, he felt that Kalara might see herself as more than a weapon, not because he said so, but because she had lived it today. As the ship sailed quietly through space, the stars twinkling like distant promises, Elias glanced at Kalara. She stood tall, surveying the calm battlefield, and he thought he saw something new in her eyes, a spark of understanding, a hint of transformation, a realization that she could choose her path. And in that moment, Elias knew that the simple act of care, the polishing of armor, the attention to detail, the belief in someone's worth, could shape the fate of the galaxy as much as any battle. After the first battle, the starship was quieter than it had ever been. The hum of engines and occasional clank of maintenance bots filled the air, but there was a calmness that seemed almost sacred. Elias walked through the corridors carrying a small toolkit, heading toward the armor bay. Kaylara had requested a full inspection of her armor, and Elias knew this was more than routine maintenance. It was a chance to understand the warrior beyond the battles. Kaylara stood near the platform where her armor was stored, her massive frame still gleaming with the energy of recent combat. She removed her helmet, revealing her pale violet eyes which seemed to carry the weight of countless victories and losses. Elias noticed small scratches and faint marks on her skin, not from battle, but from the constant strain of wearing heavy armor. She was formidable, but undeniably human beneath the metal. "You work carefully," Kaylara said, watching him unpack his tools. "Not many humans have your patience. Most rush, eager to finish the task and leave. Why are you different?" Elias smiled faintly. "Because care matters," he replied. "Not just for the armor, but for the person who wears it." Kaylara studied him for a long moment. "You speak as though I am more than a weapon," she said softly. "Do you truly believe that? Or are these just words to soothe me?" Elias hesitated, then knelt before the chest plate of her armor. "I believe it," he said firmly. "Not because you are strong, but because you choose how to use that strength. Every choice you make is more than what others expect of a weapon." Kaylara was silent, letting his words sink in. Then she handed him the gauntlets, a subtle gesture of trust. Elias noticed something unusual as he examined the inside of one of them. Tiny inscriptions etched into the metal, almost invisible unless held under the light at a specific angle. Curious, he cleaned the area carefully and traced the markings with his fingers. "What are these?" Elias murmured, more to himself than to Kaylara. Kaylara leaned over, her eyes narrowing. "Those are my ancestors' words," she said quietly. "They were engraved when this armor was first forged, long before I wore it. They speak of responsibility, honor, and the potential to lead, not only to fight." Elias's hands trembled slightly as he continued to examine the inscriptions. He realized that Kaylara had been raised to see herself primarily as a weapon, but her lineage had always intended something more. The messages were almost like a guide, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone perceptive enough to notice them. "You never mentioned these words before," Elias said, looking up at her. "Why?" Kaylara's gaze softened. "Because I did not know them myself," she admitted. "I was taught to strike, to command, and to win. These inscriptions, they were always there, but I never truly saw them. Perhaps I was not ready." Elias carefully cleaned each piece of armor, polishing around the inscriptions so that the light highlighted the engravings. "Maybe now is the time," he said softly, "to see more than what the battles demand." Kaylara knelt beside him, watching as he worked. For the first time, she observed the precision and patience humans could offer. "You see the details that others miss," she said, her voice quieter than usual. "Not just in the armor, but in me." Elias looked up, meeting her violet eyes. "I see a being capable of more than war," he said. "You've survived battles that no one else could. You've led warriors to victory. But there's also the choice to create, to protect, to inspire. That makes you more than a weapon." Kaylara studied him, absorbing his words. She touched the chest plate gently, her fingers brushing over the inscriptions. "Perhaps there is a path I have never considered," she murmured. "A way to be strong without being defined by strength alone." Elias nodded. "Strength is important, but wisdom and care are just as powerful. You can lead not only with force, but with thought and compassion." For hours they worked together in silence. Elias cleaned, polished, and repaired the armor, highlighting the hidden inscriptions. Kaylara observed, occasionally asking questions about human practices, philosophy, and values. She seemed fascinated by the simple ways humans preserved knowledge, respected tools, and valued relationships. "Humans," Kaylara said softly, almost to herself. "You see meaning where others see only function. You preserve not only objects, but ideas, history, and life. That is remarkable." Elias smiled faintly. "It is what we try to do." Every small action matters. Every choice has weight. As the night deepened, Elias discovered something unexpected. A tiny, hidden compartment in the armor's chest plate. Inside were small crystal-like devices almost like memory chips, each etched with alien symbols. Elias carefully removed one and examined it, realizing it contained records, strategies, messages, and personal reflections from Kailara's ancestors. He showed it to Kailara. "These are your family's lessons," he said. "They were meant to guide the wearer of this armor." Kailara's eyes widened slightly. "I never knew," she whispered. "All this time, I believed I had to rely only on my own strength and instincts. Yet my ancestors prepared me for more than that, for leadership, for understanding, for life beyond combat." Elias returned the device to its compartment and closed it carefully. "Sometimes we need someone else to help us see what is already there," he said. Kailara looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You are patient, observant, and thoughtful. Perhaps humans have more to teach me than I realized." Elias felt a quiet warmth spread through him. "We all learn from each other," he said. "Even those who seem unstoppable can benefit from care and guidance." The rest of the night was spent in quiet conversation. Kailara asked about human values, their approach to conflict, and the importance of empathy. Elias explained that while humans could fight fiercely, their greatest strength often lay in cooperation, understanding, and creativity. "You speak of qualities that seem alien to war," Kailara said. "Yet they are effective. I have seen it in battle today. Your strategy saved lives, both human and alien. Perhaps strength is incomplete without thought." Elias nodded. "Exactly. Strength without guidance can destroy. Strength with understanding can protect and inspire." Kailara studied him in silence for a long moment, then smiled faintly, a gesture both rare and genuine. "Perhaps I am ready to see more than the battlefield," she said softly. Elias continued polishing the armor, now with renewed purpose. Each stroke of the cloth, each careful brush along the metal, was not just about maintaining a weapon, it was about honoring the being within. The inscriptions glimmered under the light, reminders that even the most powerful warriors carry legacies and lessons beyond their immediate battles. As dawn approached, the hangar grew brighter, the first streaks of light reflecting off the polished surfaces. Kailara rose and surveyed her armor, then turned to Elias. "You have shown me that there is value in observation, patience, and care. Perhaps there is a way to lead that does not rely solely on fear and power." Elias smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "Leadership is about more than control," he said. "It is about protecting, guiding, and inspiring. And you have the potential for all of it." Kailara nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "You have opened my eyes to possibilities I had never considered. Perhaps I am more than a weapon. Perhaps there is a path beyond the battlefield." Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. He knew that the journey ahead would be difficult. Battles would come, choices would be tested, and the galaxy would challenge, both human and alien alike. But tonight, in the quiet of the armor bay, a seed had been planted, a seed of understanding, growth, and transformation. Kailara removed her gauntlets and set them carefully on the platform. "Thank you, Elias," she said softly, "for seeing me not as a weapon but as a being capable of more. I value your perspective." Elias nodded. "And I will continue to support you, General. Not just as a technician, but as someone who believes in what you can become." For the first time, Kailara allowed herself to feel something beyond strategy and combat. A sense of trust, curiosity, and the possibility of change. And Elias realized that his role had shifted. He was no longer just a technician polishing armor. He was a bridge between a warrior and her potential, a reminder that even the strongest beings could grow beyond what the galaxy expected of them. As the first light of the starship's morning cycle filled the hangar, Elias finished the final polish. Kalara's armor gleamed like never before, each plate reflecting not only light but purpose, history, and the promise of what was yet to come. And as Kalara donned her armor once more, ready to face the next challenge, Elias knew that this night had changed both of them. The inscriptions under the armor, the lessons of her ancestors, and the care he had given had awakened a realization in her. She could be more than a weapon, and perhaps, with patience, understanding, and human ingenuity, the galaxy itself could witness a warrior who fought not just with strength but with wisdom, compassion, and hope. The starship glided silently through the darkness of space, the stars streaking past like distant sparks of light. The aftermath of the previous battle still lingered in Elias's mind, but there was little time to reflect. Reports from the outer sectors had indicated unusual activity, enemy factions moving with unexpected speed and coordination. Kylara had sensed it before the humans even reported it. Elias walked through the corridors toward the command center, carrying a small data tablet. The quiet hum of the engines was interrupted by urgent footsteps and occasional alarms. Humans and aliens prepared for what was shaping up to be a sudden and dangerous engagement. Kylara's presence in the command center was commanding, her armored frame towering over the others. Yet, there was an unmistakable tension in her posture. She studied the tactical display with precision, analyzing enemy movements as though she could anticipate them before they even occurred. Elias stood beside her, tablet in hand, ready to assist in any way he could. "Elias," Kylara said without looking up, "we are facing more than a simple attack. The enemy has infiltrated the central command of our sector. This is a coordinated strike, designed to test both our strategy and our trust." Elias nodded. "I understand, General. What is your plan?" Kylara turned her violet eyes on him, a rare seriousness softening her usual intensity. "We must divide our forces. Some will engage directly, others will protect the civilians and key positions. I will lead the assault. You will ensure our support systems operate without failure." He swallowed hard. The thought of guiding the ship's systems while Kylara faced the front line sent a shiver down his spine. But he trusted her, as she trusted him. Together, their teamwork could outmatch even the most formidable enemy. The battle began almost immediately. Enemy ships emerged from the shadows, attacking in waves. Kylara's squadron responded with flawless coordination, weaving through asteroid belts and laser fire. Elias monitored energy outputs, redirected shields, and sent rapid-fire updates to Kylara. Every move she made was precise, yet it was clear that the enemy's strategy was unexpected, designed to exploit weaknesses in their defenses. Then came the betrayal. A message appeared on the comm systems, encrypted but unmistakably from an insider, a high-ranking officer within Kylara's own faction. The transmission revealed that a portion of their fleet had been compromised, ready to strike from within. The enemy had allies hidden among their own ranks. Kylara's eyes narrowed. "A trap," she muttered, her voice low but dangerous. "They intended for us to trust them, to lower our defenses. We must act quickly, Elias." He nodded. "What can I do?" "Guide me through the safest paths, redirect shields where needed, and prepare countermeasures for internal threats," she instructed. "We fight not only with strength but with vigilance." Elias's hands moved rapidly over the controls. He monitored every system, adjusted energy flows, and predicted potential attacks. Kylara's ship surged forward, engaging both external and internal threats with precision and force. The betrayal was designed to cause chaos, but the careful planning combined with Elias's quick thinking allowed them to maintain control. The battle was intense. Kylara's squadron moved like shadows through the asteroid field, using the environment to their advantage. Enemy ships attempted to encircle them, but Kylara anticipated their moves, turning what could have been a trap into a series of tactical victories. Elias guided reinforcements to key positions, ensuring the enemy could not overwhelm them. At one point, Kalara's ship was caught in a crossfire between compromised allies and enemy fighters. A massive energy beam struck her hull, sending vibrations through the armor. Elias's heart raced. He had ensured that her armor was flawless, but even the best defense could be tested. Elias. Kalara's voice was calm but firm over the "Come. Now!" He executed a complex sequence, redirecting energy from non-essential systems to shields and deploying automated countermeasures. The beam dissipated harmlessly into space, and Kalara's ship surged forward, striking the enemy with unmatched precision. The human and alien cooperation was flawless. Elias's ingenuity and quick decisions allowed Kalara to focus on strategy and combat. Together they neutralized the internal threat, restoring the loyalty of compromised allies through tactical maneuvers, rather than direct confrontation. Hours passed in tense silence, punctuated by bursts of energy and the occasional report of enemy losses. Kalara's squadron moved like a single entity, each member following her commands with absolute trust. Elias guided them from the command center, adjusting systems, predicting enemy moves, and ensuring their survival. Finally, the last wave of enemy ships retreated, leaving the battlefield quiet once more. Kalara's ship hovered among the floating debris, her armor slightly scuffed but intact. Elias approached cautiously, unsure of how to measure her reaction. Kalara removed her Endor helmet, her violet eyes glowing with a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "We survived," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. "Despite betrayal and unexpected challenges, we survived." Elias nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. "Your skill and leadership made the difference, General, and we worked together. That made all the difference." Kalara studied him for a long moment. "I underestimated the value of guidance, foresight, and collaboration," she admitted. "I have always relied on strength and instinct. Yet today, human thought proved equally powerful." Elias felt a quiet warmth spread through him. Strength alone is not enough. Wisdom, patience, and careful planning are just as important. Kalara nodded slowly. "Perhaps. I am learning, not only to fight, but to lead, to protect, to trust. This is a lesson even my ancestors did not fully teach me." The aftermath of the battle left scars on both the ship and the crew, but the sense of accomplishment was undeniable. Human and alien alike had witnessed what could be achieved when strength and ingenuity worked together. Elias realized that his careful maintenance of Kalara's armor, his attention to detail, and his quick thinking during the fight had all contributed to this success. Kalara approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You were there in the fight," she said softly. "Not on the battlefield, but guiding it. That is something few can do. You have shown me the power of human thought and care." Elias nodded, humbled by her words. "And you've shown me the power of courage and leadership," he replied. For the first time, Kalara allowed herself to feel something beyond the thrill of combat, the trust, respect, and even a hint of hope. She realized that strength alone did not define her. Her choices, strategy, and the bonds she formed with others mattered just as much. The ship returned to the starship hangar, the glow of victory softening the edges of tension that had gripped everyone. Elias carefully checked the systems one last time, ensuring the ship was ready for repairs and maintenance. Kalara's armor gleamed under the lights, each plate reflecting not only strength but the wisdom gained from surviving both battle and betrayal. Kalara removed her gauntlets and handed them to Elias. "Tonight, I have learned that even a weapon can grow," she said quietly. "And even a human can teach a warrior more than any combat lesson." Elias accepted the gauntlets with care. "We learn from each other," he said, "and that makes all the difference." Kalara studied him, her violet eyes reflecting the soft light of the hangar. "Perhaps I am more than a weapon," she said softly. "Perhaps there is a path beyond the battlefield, beyond destruction and fear. And perhaps I am ready to take it. Elias smiled, feeling a quiet sense of accomplishment. The first true test of trust and teamwork had passed. Betrayal had been faced and overcome, not by brute force alone, but by collaboration, foresight, and mutual respect. As the hangar lights dimmed for the night, Kaylara stood tall, surveying the quiet ship and its crew. Elias knew that the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but today had proven that humans and aliens, strength and wisdom, care and courage, could shape the galaxy in ways that fear and power alone never could. And for the first time, Kaylara truly saw herself, not as a weapon, but as a leader capable of choice, growth, and transformation. The battlefield was silent now, but not empty. Floating debris drifted lazily among the stars, remnants of ships and drones left in the wake of conflict. The first streaks of sunlight from a nearby star pierced the darkness, reflecting off the polished armor of General Kaylara as she stood on the observation deck of the starship. Her massive figure was imposing, yet there was a calmness about her that had not existed before. She was a warrior, yes, but one who had begun to understand herself beyond her power. Elias entered the observation deck carrying a small tray of supplies. The quiet hum of the engines filled the space, punctuated by the soft footfalls of his boots on the metal floor. He approached Kaylara carefully, mindful of her presence. Even though she had faced countless enemies and emerged victorious, there was something almost fragile in this moment, a sense of reflection that he had never witnessed before. "General," Elias said softly, "the systems are stable, and the repairs are complete. Your armor is ready for whatever comes next." Kaylara did not turn immediately. She continued to gaze at the debris field below, her violet eyes distant, thoughtful. "It is strange," she said after a moment, "to stand among ruins and feel hope. I have spent so long seeing only battles, only victory, and loss. And now—" She paused, as if searching for the right words. "I see possibility." Elias nodded, setting the tray down on a nearby table. "Possibility is what humans fight for," he said. "Not just survival, but for a better future, for life beyond the conflicts we face." Kaylara finally turned to him, her gaze steady and penetrating. "You have shown me things I never imagined," she said. "That care, patience, and thoughtfulness can be as powerful as strength. That even weapons can become more, if guided by wisdom and choice." Elias felt a quiet pride. "It is not just me guiding you, General. It is what you choose to see, what you choose to become." She studied him in silence, then gestured to her armor. "These plates, these marks, every scratch, they tell a story. And yet they do not define me. I am learning that strength is not all I am. And now, perhaps, it is time to decide who I truly want to be." The human technician approached, kneeling slightly to check the joints of her gauntlets. "You've already begun deciding," he said softly. "Every choice, every strategy, every act of protection, it shows who you are becoming." Kaylara's eyes softened. "I never thought I would feel gratitude for someone polishing my armor, guiding my decisions, helping me see more than the battlefield," she admitted. "And yet, here I am." Elias finished his checks and stood, brushing his hands together. "Sometimes, small acts make the biggest difference," he said. "A careful polish, a watchful eye, a thoughtful suggestion. They can save lives and change futures." Kaylara walked toward him, her armor reflecting the morning light. She held out a small shard from her chest plate, a piece that had absorbed countless battles yet remained intact. "Take this," she said, "a token of trust. You have seen me as more than a weapon. I want you to know that I recognize your role in what I am becoming." Elias accepted the shard carefully, holding it as if it were a treasure. "Thank you, General," he said, his voice filled with quiet awe. "I will keep it safe." Kaylara's gaze returned to the stars outside. "The galaxy is vast," she said softly, "full of conflict, full of choices. But perhaps it is also full of hope, and perhaps I can help guide that hope, not just with strength, but with wisdom and care. Elias watched her, realizing that the transformation he had hoped for was no longer distant. Kailara was beginning to embrace a new identity, not just a warrior, but a leader, a protector, and a being capable of choice and compassion. "General," he said gently, "you have already begun shaping the future, not only for yourself but for everyone who follows you." Kailara smiled faintly, a rare and genuine expression. "And you, Elias, have reminded me that guidance can come from the smallest actions, that humanity, thoughtfulness, and respect can shape even the most powerful of warriors." For a long moment they stood together in silence, the hum of the ship and the distant twinkle of stars creating a sense of peace neither had felt in years. The battles had tested them, betrayal had challenged them, and yet here they were, stronger, wiser, and united by a bond forged not in fear, but in trust. Then Kailara spoke again, her voice firm but filled with new resolve. "We will rebuild what has been lost. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves, and I will lead not just with strength, but with the lessons I have learned from you, and from my ancestors." Elias nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "And the galaxy will need your guidance," he said. "Not just as a warrior, but as a leader who values life, choice, and hope." Kailara turned to him fully, her violet eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "You believed in me," she said softly. "When I could not believe in myself, you reminded me that I am more than a weapon. That is, a gift I will carry always." Elias felt a quiet warmth spread through him. "We all need someone to remind us of our potential," he replied, "even the strongest warriors." The rest of the day was spent in careful preparation. The ship was repaired, systems checked, and new strategies discussed. Kailara walked among her squadron, speaking to them, not only as a commander, but as a leader who had learned the value of guidance, cooperation, and trust. The warriors listened, inspired by her words and her example. Elias continued his work with the ship, monitoring systems and ensuring that everything was ready for the challenges ahead. Yet he found himself glancing at Kailara often, witnessing the transformation in her demeanor, the subtle shift from a weapon defined by combat to a leader defined by choice. As night fell over the starship, Kailara returned to the observation deck. Elias joined her, carrying a small cup of synthesized tea. They stood together, gazing out at the calm expanse of space, the stars glittering like distant promises. "Elias," Kailara said quietly, "I understand now. Armor can protect the body, but guidance, care, and understanding, they protect the soul. And that is what you have given me." Elias smiled faintly. "And you have shown me that even the greatest warriors can learn, change, and grow," he said. "Together, we have proven that strength and wisdom, courage and care can shape the future." Kailara nodded, her expression serene yet determined. "The galaxy will see what we have learned. Strength is not enough. Compassion, guidance, and understanding, these are the true powers of a leader." Elias felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had brought both of them to a place of clarity and purpose. Kailara was no longer just a weapon feared across the stars. She was a leader capable of inspiring hope, protecting life, and guiding others with wisdom and strength. "Tomorrow," Kailara said softly, "we begin a new path, one where battles are fought with strategy, courage, and choice, not only with force. And we will face it together." Elias nodded. "Together," he agreed. As the stars outside shimmered in the quiet of space, the bond between human and alien, between teacher and warrior, had been solidified. Kailara's armor gleamed in the starlight, each scratch, dent, and polish reflecting not only her past battles but the lessons learned in the future yet to be shaped. For the first time in her long life, Kailara felt free, not just to fight, but to lead, to protect, and to grow. And Elias realized that sometimes the smallest acts, a careful polish, a thoughtful word, a gesture of respect, could awaken greatness even in the most formidable of beings. As the night deepened and the starship sailed silently through the galaxy, Kailara and Elias stood together looking forward. The war was not over and challenges would come, but they were ready. Strength, wisdom, trust, and care would guide them, and the galaxy would remember that even a weapon could become more when seen, guided and believed in by a human who understood the power of respect and compassion. Kailara finally spoke, her voice soft yet unwavering. "Thank you, Elias, for seeing me, for guiding me, for reminding me that I am more than a weapon. I will carry this lesson into every battle, every decision, and every choice I make." Elias bowed his head slightly. "And I will carry the knowledge that even the strongest can be taught by the simplest acts of care," he said. They stood in silence, letting the quiet of space and the hum of the starship fill the moment. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of challenges, hope, and possibilities. And for the first time, both human and alien felt ready, not just to fight, but to shape the future together. The journey had changed them both. Kailara was no longer a weapon alone. She was a leader, a protector, and a symbol of transformation. And Elias, the young human who had polished her armor, had shown that courage, wisdom, and care could illuminate even the darkest reaches of space. Together, they turned toward the future, ready to face whatever the stars had in store.